Good evening, I'm Anna Jabłońska. Welcome to Poland Daily. Migration policy and Brexit were the two main themes of the informal European Union summit held in Salzburg, Austria, which finished today. After the meeting of the union's leaders had ended, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki underlined that Polish priorities concerning migration policy had not changed and would still be based on the voluntary principle. An agreement on Brexit is yet to be reached.
Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki came to the Austrian summit with a very clear stance on immigration. The main issues today are migration and refugees, external security and border security. Poland, being a sovereign state, will decide on who to accept or not to accept into its country. We choose not to take in refugees, and this is our sovereign decision. It was accepted during a European Council meeting in June, mainly because we have formed a strong coalition. Although the migration problem remains to be the most pressing issue facing the European Union, the impending Brexit cannot be ignored. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Theresa May, underlined that she wishes to drop an agreement which would allow for a smooth divorce between the UK and the European Union.
Because white paper, the proposal that we have put on the table for our future relationship, I believe this is the right proposal because it maintains frictionless trade. It's the only credible and negotiable plan on the table that delivers no hard border in Northern Ireland and also delivers on the vote of the British people. And if we're going to achieve a successful conclusion, then, just as the UK has evolved its position, the EU will need to evolve its position too.
The negotiations between the EU government and Great Britain are ongoing for months now. The conversation is prolonged due to a lack of consensus concerning the rules on which the United Kingdom would leave the European Union.
The European Court of Human Rights has decided that Poland violated human rights by conducting an exhumation of two victims of the Smolensk crash in 2010 and granted compensation from the Polish state of 16,000 euros to two widows who objected to the exhumation of their loved ones. The exhumation was part of crash investigation. Bodies of victims arrived from Russia in sealed coffins. The Polish authorities at the time discouraged families from opening the coffins. Polish forensics were barred from taking the bodies, which is standard procedure after such a crash.
Despite 8.5 years having passed since the Smolensk catastrophe, the issue is still hotly debated. In 2016, the prosecutor decided to conduct the forensic investigation of crash victims' bodies. The form of the decomposition and injuries can explain a lot about the accident. This is probably why Russian authorities sent sealed coffins to Poland, and then Prime Minister Donald Tusk's officials forbade families to open them. Some of the bodies were in the wrong coffins, and the medical documentation obtained from Russia was inconsistent with facts. The widow of one of the crash victims, Magdalena Merta, said the prosecutor's office had acted hand-in-hand with Russians. Russians told the Polish state what to do and they obeyed. Army investigators pretended they were doing something but did their best not to reach any conclusions. The real investigation started in 2015. The ruling of the European Court is being widely commended in Poland as another Russian-inspired obstacle to revealing the mystery surrounding the catastrophe from April 10, 2010.
What next with Trump's fort? Representatives of Pentagon say this matter requires a lot of arrangements regarding, among others, the location of the American military base in Poland and improvement of the infrastructure which is necessary for its functioning. According to the former Minister of National Defense, Antoni Macierewicz, all of the conditions that the American side speaks of will be fulfilled in the future.
Mówimy jednym głosem.
After Polish President Andrzej Duda's visit to Washington, the perspective of a constant American army presence in Poland becomes more realistic.
We are applying for a permanent presence of the American army in Poland.
President Duda and I agreed to bolster our robust defense ties. We will enhance cooperation in military relations, intelligence, missile defense, technology, and training.
The Honorable Mark Esper.
Although the U.S. Secretary of the Army, Mark Esper, argues that Poland might not be ready for the permanent presence of the American Army.
The area designated for the military bases is too small. There are deficiencies in the infrastructure as well as problems with heavy equipment transport.
Poland doesn't have as large and uniform a territory as the American deserts, but experts say that it is in the style of locating military bases in Europe. The United States Secretary of Defense stated that the area offered by the government is too small to ensure the possibility of conducted artillery exercises training and the functioning of the training ground. According to the former Polish Minister of National Defense, it's too soon for this kind of diagnosis because the preparations for a continual American army presence in Poland are still underway.
Jeżeli teraz któryś z generałów amerykańskich wskazuje, że
If one of the American generals say that we haven't prepared, for example, fields of fire for American tanks yet, in my opinion, these are the matters that are constantly corrected and improved, and I am sure they will be ready in the time indicated by the American side.
z pewnością będą gotowe na czas wyznaczony przez stronę amerykańską.
Warto płacić pieniądze za
Our security, the security of Poland and any other country is worth paying for. If you want peace, be for the war.
chcąc pokoju, szykuj się do wojny.
According to the US President Donald Trump, creation of the permanent American military bases in Poland would cost $2 billion, a figure Polish President Andrzej Duda has agreed with.
The fifth World Jamboree of Polish expats and people of Polish origin started today in Warsaw. The event, under the slogan "United by the Independent Poland," welcomed over 600 guests. President Andrzej Duda spoke during the official inauguration.
Poles living abroad are referred to in the Polish language as Polonia. The term originates from the 19th century when Poland lost its independence and many citizens left the country seeking freedom from political and economic oppression. Today, after more than 200 years of emigration, there are roughly 20 million people of Polish ancestry living outside Poland's borders, with major Polish populations being located in the United States of America, Germany, the United Kingdom, Brazil and Canada. Ethnic Poles also live in the former USSR. Their ancestors did not emigrate, but borders moved. Nevertheless, the majority of ethnic Poles have passed on their heritage and culture to the younger generations, and that's why these summits can take place.
Cieszę się ogromnie, że możemy was gościć.
I am very glad that we can host you in a free and sovereign Poland with great ambitions, a Poland certain of its place in the world and world politics. We are also aware of our potential in international organizations such as NATO and the European Union. I am pleased that we are part of both of these alliances, especially NATO. It is thanks to your perseverance and your great patriotism that we could be in the United States 2 days ago, speaking with President Trump about the military cooperation between our two countries. 30 years ago, it was unimaginable that such events would be possible, that Poland would host NATO military units, American military units, that Poland would be buying military equipment from the United States, and that it would be a possibility to strengthen Polish sovereignty and independence in this way.
President Andrzej Duda has appointed 10 judges to the disciplinary board of the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, everything suggests that negotiations are brewing in the backrooms of the parliament, which might break the standstill in the Supreme Court conflict.
2 dni temu premier Mateusz Morawiecki
2 days ago, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki spoke with the head of the European Commission at the Trójmorze Initiative in Bucharest. Yesterday, the European Commission hadn't yet decided about directing the lawsuit against Poland to the Court of Justice of the European Union, which was earlier announced. Prime Minister Morawiecki met with Małgorzata Gersdorf yesterday and briefly summed up their discussion as good, which leaves speculation that the government might negotiate with Brussels about the law on the Supreme Court and the procedure in relation to Article 7. Law and Justice Party politicians state that the lack of the lawsuit is a good sign. The opposition says that this is the Prime Minister's game.
z Brukselą odnośnie ustawy o Sądzie Najwyższym dziś prezydent zdecydował o powołaniu.
The procedure related to appointing judges in the highest court is in progress. Today, the Polish president decided to call 10 judges of the disciplinary chamber of the Supreme Court,
których prezydent nie powołał.
Thank you for watching Poland 80. Coming up next, Poland 80 weather. Good night.